Can you start with the salat, please? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil faraja. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Last week you had an open book test. Hope you've done something with it. Oh, I can see some smiles. Okay, that's cool. So you've obviously gone through it. We started Sura Al Nisaa, if you remember. I'm just going to go over a little bit of what we've already done. Sura Al Fatiha. If I said that, immediately in your head should come summary of the Qur'an. Are you good with that? Sura Al Baqarah, history of Iman, or history of faith. And I told you, they dovetail onto each other. If you look at Sura Al Imran, it was establishing a Muslim identity. If you look at Sura Al Nisaa, which we are on now, it is manifesting that Muslim identity. And if you remember, going back 2 weeks, it's about social values. And a society, an Islamic society, is judged by the way it treats its women. When I was talking to the young people in workshop, it's talking about how they treat their mothers. And it's really, really important. So it's not only talking about spouse relations or relations of a woman in society, but it's also talking straight off. Your first relationship is with your mother, and it's particularly important. What we're going to do is go straight into before that, you've got a heart, I hope, yes? And that heart is the dua of the Prophet every time he opened the Qur'an, which is وَالْزَمْ قَلْبِي حِفْظَ كِتَابِكَ كَمَا عَلَّمْتَنِي. Are you good with that? Can you say it with me? وَالْزَمْ قَلْبِي حِفْظَ كِتَابِكَ كَمَا عَلَّمْتَنِي. It's just 6 words. And if you can't remember that, every time you open the Qur'an, I've got it in the front, hopefully you will put it in the front as well, and you've got it in the front, I want to love this book. That's basically what you're trying to say, okay? All right, so you've got your sticker. We're going to start off with ayah 110. So if you go to Surah Al Nisaa, ayah 110, and you have a sticker, hopefully, which says forgiveness on it, right? And that's what you're going to put on 110. Now 110 says, وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ سُوءًا. Number one who does su'. Now remember, amal, there's a difference between fi'l and amal. I explained this, but I'll go over it again. Fi'l is when you do something without thinking. I breathe without thinking. I didn't do an intention. Excuse me, I'm going to take 1 breath in and 1 breath out. Some things I do just subconsciously. Amal is conscious. That's ayah 110, Surah Al Nisaa. So amal is a conscious decision. So he says, if you consciously do a su', and I'll explain in a minute, أو يظلم نفسه, or you have done injustice to your soul. Now there's 2 types of sins, okay? So you can write them down like I have done on a post-it note. Su is a sin that is ugly in itself. It doesn't, you don't have to say anything about it. It's bad, full stop. Genocide is bad. Hurting someone is wrong. You could come from any color, creed, religion. You will agree that there are some things that are wrong per se. There is no 2 ways about it, right? Are you good with that? Okay. Now, the other one, أَوْ يَظْلِمْ نَفْسَهُ, that one is different. Those are the types of sins that are attractive to the nafs. So you might be attracted to those sins. So yadlim nafsa is something you're attracted to. And then you think, oh my God, that wasn't very good. So for example, we're all sitting down somewhere. Everybody's sitting. And we're talking. And suddenly a conversation comes up and your ears light up because you think, I know that person. But as soon as that conversation even finishes or starts, you have a bad feeling in here and you think, that wasn't good. That just didn't feel right. Or you had premenstrual tension and you shouted at your kids, right? At that moment, it felt good to shout. But as soon as the moment went over, you thought, oh my goodness, what the heaven did I do? Those are known as sins that are yadlim nafsahu. So they seem attractive to the soul. So he's talking about 2 sins. But he says,
ثُمَّ يَسْتَغْفِرُ اللَّهِ. As soon as you realize them, you did istighfar. Whether they were bad, like really bad, per se wrong, or there were something that you did because it felt attractive at the time. He says, and you ask for forgiveness, يَجِدِ اللَّهَ غَفُورًا رَحِيمًا. You will find Allah forgiving and with rahmah, merciful. Now, I'm not saying those who do really wrong, killing people is right. We'll come to that in a minute. They cannot change that unless there's a lot of laws that go with it, how they will give blood money, blah, 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 etc., or the rest of it. But fiqh has covered those rules, okay? So I'm not going to go into that. All I'm trying to say is that you can go into something that is really bad, or you can go something that seemed attractive but was bad. Both can be done with istighfar. However, he says, if you look at the next ayah, which is 111, وَمَنْ يَكْسِبْ إِثْمًا. If you commit kasaba, you do a sin, فَإِنَّمَا يَكْسِبُهُ عَلَى نَفْسِهِ. You're only committing it against yourself. Don't ever think you're doing anybody any wrong. You are committing that sin against yourself. وَكَانَ اللَّهُ عَلِيمًا حَكِيمًا. And He knows and He is wise. Now you have a sticker there with a person with a black heart, because it actually blackens your heart. You can't get away with it. You can't sleep. You can't do anything about it. The next ayah we're going to go to is 114. You don't have a sticker for it, but I thought I'd go into this ayah. He said, لا خير في كثير من نجوى. There is no good in secret counsels. You know where you whisper to each other, or you go secretly, except for 3 occasions. إلا Man amara bi sadaqah, except when you're giving sadaqah, so you can do that in secret. Aw ma'arufin, aw islahin bayna nas, or you are doing something good. You don't have to advertise it to people. Or you are reconciling people. 3 things only where secret conversations are out. So when somebody says, oh, this meeting you're not allowed, why? Well, you say, Amari wat thaiche, seni wat. It can only be 3 wats. 1, sadaqah. 2, you're doing good. 3, you're reconciling people. That he says nothing else. There's nothing else. وَمَا يَفْعَلْ ذَلِكَ ابْتِغَاءَ مَرْضَاتِ اللَّهِ. And you're seeking the pleasure of Allah. فَسَوْفَ نُعْطِيهِ أَجْرًا عَظِيمًا. And you will get the reward for it. You cannot say this is a private conversation. There's no such thing as a private conversation, except for these 3 things, okay? It's hard, isn't it? Especially when you live in a community. You see them all sitting in a corner and you're not allowed to go there. Okay, 4124, you get? The good thing about Qur'an is nobody can contest it. Nobody, okay? So ayah 124, now let's look at this one, okay? And this is something that I need to just talk about a little bit. وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِنَ الصَّالِحَاتِ. So let me go ayah before, ayah 123. Can you have a look at it in your Qur'ans? It's not on here. It says, just the last bit. مَنْ يَعْمَلْ سُوءًا. One who does evil. يُجْزَ بِهِ وَلَا يَجِدْ لَهُ مِنْ دُونِ اللَّهِ وَلِيًّا وَلَا نَصِيرًا. He shall have the recompense for it, and he will not find himself a guardian or a helper. And here Allah talks about him individually. So if you keep it in your head, I put in my book that Jahannam is solitary confinement. You're on your own. Now look at Jannah, and this is the ayah we're going to look at. وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِنَ الصَّالِحَاتِ. One who does good, مِنْ ذَكَرٍ أَوْ أُنْثَى, from a man or a woman. Okay, ya'mal salihat. And we'll talk about amal salihat later on. Does good for a man or woman. وَهُوَ مُؤْمِنٌ. And he believes. فَأُولَٰئِكَ يَدْخُلُونَ الْجَنَّةَ. He will enter Jannah. وَلَا يُظْلِمُونَ نَكِيرًا. He will not be done any injustice. Now I'd like you to look at the word nakira. If you have ever had dates, you had a date, right? Hopefully in Ramadan. Not date, eating date, right? So eating date has a stone. On the stone you have little dents. Have you seen those dents? Nakir is that dent. It's a tiny dent. You can barely see it. So he's saying you will not even be, no injustice will be done to even the size of a dent in a date seed. Now the reason why I picked this out is that we did something called fatila, but we'll go into these ayahs and you'll see them coming. Remember that this was a community whom the Quran was revealed to, for dates was an important part of their diet. But even you and me know what's in a date, and we know that little dent. So you know, he sees everything. And here I've put gender equality. So you've got a picture of a man and a woman in white. You could put that in, it's up to you, right? Whatever you feels good. Now we're going to go to ayah 135. There are 2 ayahs in the Qur'an that are central to justice. Justice is the first sign of a Muslim. And there are 2 ayahs, I repeat, that are central to justice in the Qur'an. One is this one, and the next one is Sura Al Maaida, ayah 8. 5:8. So I would write 5:8 here too, okay? Now normally, if you imagine justice to be in the middle, then you look at two bits either side. You either do injustice because you're favoring someone, or you do injustice because you hate someone. I repeat again, there is justice. And then there are 2 bits. For the ordinary human being, you either do injustice because you're favoring someone, or you do injustice because you hate someone. This ayah talks about those who do injustice because they favor others. And the ayah in Surah Al Maaida talks about those who do injustice because they hate someone. Now there are 2 words in the Quran that you will see. Adl, you know adl, adala, right? So adl, you'll find adl a lot, but here you'll find the word qist, Q-I-S-T. Okay, you'll see, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kunu qawwamina bil qist. Now let's have the difference between adala and qist. Okay, really important. Write it down. So I put it in a post-it note, by the way, that's here. So adala, in essence, is literally passing a fair verdict. So you have a judge or anybody and you pass a fair verdict. That is called adala. Qist has 3 stages. The first stage is pre-trial investigations. Qist has 3 stages. Here we're talking about qist. Pre-trial investigations means first you find out. You find out all the evidence that is necessary. And those of you who have watched programs on TV that talk about justice, you know there's a pre-trial investigation. The second thing about qist is like adala, passing a fair verdict. That's fair enough. But the third part about qist is you've got to execute that judgment. It's okay to say I've passed a judgment, but then you've got to take it through. Now it runs throughout our lives. I don't know about you, but if my children were young, one of the easiest things to say is that wait till your father comes home. Wait till he comes home. He comes home and they're asleep anyway. Okay? Or I will do this to you and then it doesn't happen. That is not qist. So find something, and it goes throughout life, from the beginning, you know, from a family right up to society to community. It's okay to pass judgments. We see it in the world today. Every single organization or every single country or many countries have passed a judgment that this particular behavior is not right. Yet to execute that judgment is not possible, or they don't do it, so on and so forth. So qist is really important. Now let's look at the ayah. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, or you who believe. Kunu qawwamina bil qist. Be really those who maintain qist. Shuhada lillah. And you will witness because of Allah's sake. Wala wala anfusihim alwil walidain. It doesn't matter if you're going against yourself or you are going against your parents, wal akrabin, or your relations. In yakun ghaniyan aw fakir, or whether it is a rich person or a poor person. It doesn't matter. Fallahu awla bihima fala tattabi'ul hawa. Now the only reason people will favor, first they will favor their own judgments. They'll favor themselves. Then they will favor their families, their parents, their families. Or they will see if somebody is rich or poor. The rich person will get a little bit more respect than the poor person. Or the blue-blooded will get more respect than the red-blooded, so far and so forth. So he's saying here, you cannot turn away from qist. Are you comfortable? So that's one ayah, yes. still got to be kissed. Because he says he will help you because he's aware of what you are doing. I think there is a per se no difference. I'd like you to go to 5.8 just quickly. I know we're not on surah number 5, but just like to go to 5.8 and have a look at that. Just very, very quickly. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kunu qawwamina lillahi shuhada bil qist. Can you see that? Same thing. Now he says, وَلَا يَجْرِي مَنَّكُمْ شَنَعَانُ قَوْمٍ عَلَىٰ أَلَّا تَعْدِلُوا اعْدِلُوا هُوَ أَقْرَبُ لِلتَّقْوَى وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ إِنَّ اللَّهَ خَبِيرٌ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ. Don't let a hatred of a people make you not be just. Okay, we'll come to it. All I want you to do is have a quick look at it. I underline that in red, I underline this in green, and we get that. But maybe to answer Fatma by your question was, فَاللَّهُ أَوْلَى بِهِمَا. Allah's laws are greater than that. It's pretty tough. It's not easy. Okay, all right. 4144. Are you good? You'll have to turn the page on if you've got the same Qur'an as I have. Okay. People don't like this very much, but I just like to go over it. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. Do you remember bitana, friends? What was bitana? A belly friend. What was rafiki? Somebody you lean on, mirfaq. And I sent you some stuff on the group for you to see. So here it says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu la tattakhidhul kafirina awliya min dunil mu'minin. Okay. Please don't label people kafirs. Huh? Kafara means to cover up. Somebody who covers up the truth. Awliya, it doesn't mean don't be friends in the actuals, in the sense that we are friends. You can be acquaintances. Awliya means somebody who inclines towards that person and therefore will incline towards their thinking. He says, don't do that. Just don't do that. I'm telling you not to do that. Aturiduna an taj'alu lillahi alaykum sultanan mubina. Do you actually want that Allah will show it in front of you how wrong you are? Yes? No? I'm not talking about Khojas here, okay? Talking about Muslims, and in particular, if you're going a bit further, Ahlul Baytis. Can't go wrong. Okay, 148. And this is a little bit, you've got a sticker there which has a emoji with somebody saying some funky words, right? Now that's not swearing, it's not just swearing. Let's see what he says. La yuhibbullahu jahra. Allah does not love you that you, jahar is to make apparent. Don't make evil apparent in your words. Illa man dhulim, except one for whom injustice is done, and I'll explain. Wa kana Allahu sami'an alima. Allah hears and Allah knows. It's okay. All right. So, I have a problem. I made a mistake. Let's say, for example, I had a problem. I made a mistake. You heard about my mistake. I made a massive mistake, or I may have made a small mistake. Doesn't matter. Everybody makes mistakes. You may have heard about it. This is talking about you publicizing my mistake. If you publicize my mistake, you might say it in a very soft way. It's called gossip. If you say the mistake because you want to feel higher than me, it is known as demeaning someone. وَيْلٌ لِكُلِّ هُمَزَةٍ لُمَزَةٍ الَّذِي جَمَعَ مَالًا وَعَدَّدَ. You all know the surah. Here Allah is saying, if that mistake somebody made, to help them, it's their mistake. You go and see what you can do. By publicizing it, He does not love it. It's not just swearing. It's not just bad words. It's publicizing somebody's evil. Now, the only way you are allowed to say to someone is if you've been wronged, if you've been cheated, if you've been betrayed, if you've been abused. Then you can go to someone else, and that even not publicize it, go to someone else and say, I need some help. Even in the Qur'an, for something like zina, for example, you need 4 witnesses who witness the act. And you've got to be pretty stupid to do that. Okay? So if Allah is going through that sort of angle, He's trying to tell you, You can, and even then, if you're testifying under somebody, it's under oath and it's in a closed place. Look what the next ayah says. إن تبدوا خيرا أو تخفوه أو تعفوا عن سوء فإن الله كان عفوا قديرا. Okay, I think we've got it here. إن تبدوا خيرا. If you do good openly, that means you help them. أو تخفوه, or you did it in secret. You help them out with their issues. أو تعفوا عن سوء. Now this was after you were wronged. You actually rubbed out that evil. You forgave. He says, فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ عَفُوًا كَثِيرًا. He will erase all your sins. It's a tough one, because we live in a society which tells us to be assertive, to say things, to talk about things, to go on, I don't know, all these programs that they come up with and they tell you things and suddenly it becomes okay. Qur'an says, no, it's not okay. You're not helping someone. You're just not. Okay, 157. I only put 157 here because we talk about him a lot. وَقَوْلِهِمْ إِنَّا كَتَلْنَا مَعْسِيحَ عِيسَى ابْنَ مَرْيَمَ. And they say that they killed the Messiah. Now, let's see where the word Masih comes from, or the word Messiah comes from. It comes from Masa. You know, you do Masa, right? So Masa basically means to wipe clean. That's what Masa means. And what Prophet Isa did was maybe he brought the dead to life, or if I can say, whatever he touched, he rendered it clean and healed. He healed the lepers, didn't he? You know all those stories about Prophet Isa. So that's why he's known as Messiah, one who did Masa. It comes from the Arabic word Masih, which is Masa. Basically, he healed. Now Allah says, وَمَا قَتَلُوهُ وَمَا صَلَبُوهُ. Neither was he killed, nor was he crucified. وَلَكِنْ شُبِّحَ لَهُمْ. But there was somebody who was made to look like him. And we all know the story. I'm not going to go into it. وَإِنَّ الَّذِينَ اخْتَلَفُوا فِيهِ لَفِي شَقٍّ مِّنْهُ مَا لَهُمْ بِهِ مِنْ عِلْمٍ. Now I'm going to go to the last bit. إِلَى اتِّبَاعٍ. Then let's go to the last 3 words, or 4 words. وَمَا قَتَلُوهُ يَقِينًا. He definitely wasn't killed. Now the next ayah says, بَلْ رَفَعَ اللَّهُ إِلَيْهِ. Can you see it? The next ayah is ayah 158. Allah took him up to himself, which means Prophet Isa is still alive. Doesn't say that he died and then Allah took him up to himself. It just says, بَلْ رَفَعَهُ اللَّهُ إِلَيْهِ. So if anybody looks for proof in the Qur'an, or you want to know where it is in the Qur'an, that's where it is in the Qur'an. Okay. I know I'm going a little bit fast. I will slow down. 174. That's the last one we're going to look at from this surah. Okay. Ya ayyuhan nas. O people, قَدْ جَاءَكُمْ بُرْهَانٌ مِّن رَبِّكُمْ. Has come to you a burhan. Now, we've got to look at the translation of burhan. Burhan means an irrefutable proof. You can't contest it. So Allah says, has come to you an irrefutable proof, مِن رَبِّكُمْ, from your Rabb. وَأَنزَلْنَا إِلَيْكُمْ نُورًا مُبِينًا. And we have sent it to you like a clear light. 3 views. One view says it is that Habib inside you. You know that bit inside you that says you're wrong, right and wrong. The second view says it's the Prophet. But the third view, which is more prominent with all the Mufassirin, it is the Qur'an. Now the Qur'an can only be an irrefutable proof if you and I use it the way it should. So you should have a picture of a Qur'an. If you don't, I think in the next batch of seekers you might have a Qur'an. You can draw a Qur'an there, you can do whatever you want. I only put it there to highlight to you that the Qur'an is nur. It actually lights up your soul. It actually shows you a way. If you're stuck, Ayatul Bahjat, 5 things. If you're stuck, you feel hocused, you feel life's not doing very well, you feel lethargic, you feel like things not going well, keep a Qur'an with you, number 1. Number 2, recite Ayatul Kursi. Number 3, recite Falak and Nas. Number 4, make sure the adhan is said aloud in your houses 5 times a day. Not 3, 5 times a day. And finally, recite 50 ayat of the Qur'an. It's not difficult to recite 50. Fatiha is 7. Come on. Can't be that difficult. Are you good? Ikhlas is how many? 3? 10. Just Fatiha and Ikhlas 10 times. I mean, 5 times, not even 10. You've done it. Are you good? All right. Sorry? 5. Keep a Quran with you. Small Quran. Big Quran, whatever you want. But small one is good. Keep it with you. Number 2, Ayatul Kursi. Number 3, Falak and Nas. Number 4, Adhan loudly in your house 5 times a day. 6, recite 50 ayat of the Quran. If you recite 50 ayat of the Quran, you can make mountains move. And it's not that difficult. It sounds a lot, but it isn't. Right, we've still got some time, so we're going to look at Sura Al Maaida. Now, before I go into Sura Al Maaida, I have a question to ask you. Next week, I'll be here. But I'm told many of you will not be here on the last week in December and the first week of January, which is the 2nd of January, and I think there's a, what date is it? 26th. So 26th is after, is it Boxing Day? Okay, whatever. So can I give you tests on those 2 days? Can we have, do you want days off? I mean, it's up to you. I'm here. Do you want days off? Obviously. Okay. So we're off on those 2 weeks. I'll be here next week, and then we'll see you the week after. Okay, so Surah Al Maaida. Now, we went into, what was Surah number 1? Summary of the Quran. Number 2, history of Iman. Number 3, Muslim identity. Number 4, manifestation of that Muslim identity into society. Now, when we come to Maaida, it continues with the social values. But with Maaida, it talks, the first thing it tells you, so social values continued, but it says social values can only be upheld, we talked about women in Nisa, here, if people keep their word, their uqd, the aqd, we'll come to in the first time, their promises, what they say is binding to them, if they pay their taxes, if they follow the speed limits, all that is aqd. So besides women, now it's talking about all these things. And you find in Surah Al Maaida also, religion will never be left on its own. There's always succession. So you will find the last ayah, you will find imama in there, and all the rest of it. So if I told you Maaida, first of all, it's a table of food, and we'll say where it came from. But immediately in your head, continuing of social values. Now we've got the women, which are the most important part, but we've got fulfilling of your promises, or fulfilling of your, or whatever you want to call it, fulfilling of covenants. Then you have diet, which is very, very important. What you feed yourself with, what you should eat and what you shouldn't eat. Tahara is very important, which you'll find in here. And the other thing that's important is you're never alone. There will always be an imam. There will always be a guide. Always be somebody who will take you through. Are you good with that? Okay, so that's your start. If you look at your building for Maaida, it's got 7 sections. Just look at the building very, very quickly, okay? So the first section is talking about fulfill your covenants. All your covenants. In fact, that first ayah should be put in front of our faces everywhere, on your desk, on your whatever you call, on your books, wherever it is. So that's one thing, fulfill your covenants. And you will find Allah fulfills His covenant by completing the religion. That's the first one. The second one will tell you, your covenants don't only extend to yourself. They extend with the people of the book as well, with all humanity, basically, okay? The third one talks about the things that stop you from fulfilling your covenants. One is jealousy. And 2 is not giving the best you can to Allah. In other words, not giving the best to humanity. The 4th section talks about justice, as you know, it's a primary requirement. The 5th section talks about imama, and you'll find the eye of Ghadir over there. The 6th section always, as you look at it, it will tell you what you're not supposed to do. Gambling, intoxicants, superstitions, so on and so forth. And finally, the last section says, Allah is capable of doing whatever He wants. If Prophet Isa can be born on his own without a father, I mean, what can't He do? Absolutely everything, okay? But you've got to trust Him. Right, number 1. Ayah number 1. You haven't got a sticker for it. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. By the way, this surah has 15 Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. Okay? It's paired with Nisa. It's a phenomenal surah. At the end of Maida, you come to 1/7 of the Quran. Do you know the Quran is divided into 7 bits? Well, this comes to the end. If I can just say, this is post-Hudaybiyah, post-Makkan victory. So there's a lot of problems that came across. But the first thing it says is, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, ufu bil uqud. Fulfill your covenants. Now let's look at this. Aqd. You know they say aqd of nikah. Aqd actually means a knot. It literally means a knot. When we say, I follow this aqidah, have you heard of the word aqidah? Aqidah literally means a set of ideas that you follow that tie you to God, that knot you to Allah. That's aqidah. Uqud is a plural of aqd, but it's basically social contracts. Now, it can be absolutely anything, literally anything. My driving license is an aqd. It's a knot. If I go buy something from a shop, I've entered into an aqd. It's not just aqd of nikah. I've entered into agreement. I've given them money, they've given me some goods. If the goods are faulty, I have a right to take them back. If I've underpaid them, I have to go and pay them. I know these days you're charged for carrier bags, but there were days when you could actually take as many as you want. And I remember in a class talking about, if you took those carrier bags and you lined your bins, you better go and give them back because you stole them. You know, you could pick as many as you want. Oh, you didn't do that, did you? No. Anyway, so these are people who did do them. And I remember they said, but we wrote to them and they don't want them back. It doesn't matter. Go donate to the store. You cannot do that. So these are all aqd. And here the first thing he says is, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu awfu bil uqud. Are you good with that? Okay, I just want to go into that ayah. Then he talks about cattle and so on, and I'm not going to go into that right now. Right, this is my favorite ayah. And yours as well. Let's see how far we get to this. It is known as Ayatul Ikmal. Okay? You got that? Ikmaal. I don't know whether you can see it, but anyway, it's called Ayatul Ikmal. It's beautiful. Right, let's go into it. So it says, and I'd really like to go at the end. Don't look at the top. We're only going to go right to the last 4 ayat. And you've got a sticker with Imam Ali and his hands being raised by the Prophet, and you stick it over there. He says, Al-yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum. On this day, I have completed. Akmaltu lakum dinakum. I have completed your religion. Ikmal is to complete. It's where you've started something, you're working at it for a long time, and now it's completed, and it is giving you the benefits it's supposed to give you. That's ikmal. It's beautiful. Okay, so you're supposed to smile. Okay, so basically he said, he has completed my deen. Deen in essence comes from dain. Dain actually means a debt. And deen literally means the debt you owe divinity for giving you this beautiful life and how you repay it, okay? So, al-yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum. I have completed my job, that's God's job, was to be able to give you a completion of everything. There's nothing that you need now. And then he says, وَأَتْمَمْتُ عَلَيْكُمْ نِعْمَتِي. Itmam, in essence, is to finish something to such an extent that you don't need any more. That's itmam. There's a difference between the two. You don't need anything else. In other words, every single thing is covered. I completed my responsibility towards you, and I have finished ni'mah. I've given you every blessing possible. Absolutely everything. So ni'mati wa raditu lakum al-islam deena. And I have picked for you, or I am happy for you, that you will pick total surrender to me as your deen. فَمَنِ اضْطُرَّ فِي مَخْسَمَةٍ. By the way, makhmasa is hunger, but not normal hunger. It's where the hunger is so bad that you're dying of it. It's starvation. So he's saying, if you're in a state of makhmasa, then it doesn't matter if you, for example, ate something that wasn't halal. You can't say, oh, I'm going to die but not eat it. You could. On that note, we run 4 o'clock classes in Ramadan because you're young moms here. So 4 o'clock classes in Ramadan, and we had a 5-year-old who fainted because she was fasting. So I got her a glass of water and I said, please drink this water. She said, no, I'm going to go to Jahannam. Mama said, I'm going to go to Jahannam if I break my fast. I said, I will go to Jahannam for you. You drink the water. This is makhmasa. She is dying of hunger. She's dying of thirst. She'd gone through 2 hours of rigorous sports day and whatever. Anyway, so Bichari had some water, had a little bit of a date, so on and so on. But Mama, when she came, oh my goodness me, she said, you broke her fast. You're a Muliani. I'm not actually, but you are. And now you will have to fast the 60 that she has to pay. She was 5. Even if she was older, even if she was your age or my age, and she had fainted and I was dying of hunger, this is where this ayah comes in. That is not religion. There is something wrong with us. So when you think of this ayah, please think of this little girl and think, Al-yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum. He has completed your religion for you. Wa atmamtu alaykum ni'mati. Every blessing. You don't need anything else. You have du'as for looking in the mirror. You have du'as for dressing up. You have du'as for everything. There's nothing you don't have. If you don't find it, it's because it's a shortfall in ourselves if I don't find it. But the religion is absolutely everything. It's a beautiful ayah, okay? And this is when, this was recited after Ayat al-Tabligh. This is the last ayah of the Qur'an, by the way. You know that? And we'll do Ayat al-Tabligh, which is 567. Easy to remember. 567. Inshallah, we'll complete Sura Al Maaida next week. I think I have to go. Have I got to go? I need just 2 minutes because I was asked a question about Surah number 3, ayah 37 and 38. Would you like to go there? Just for 2 minutes, and I'll take you back there. So in Surah Al Imran, ayah 37, you've done it with me so you know it. Now this is talking about Zakaria, and we're going to talk about it in Surah Al Maaida anyway. So if you look at Zakaria, you had a basket of fruits, and Zakaria comes in to see Maryam, and he sees fruits out of season. Wajada indaha rizqan. Yes? And he says, Kala, Ya Maryamu, anni laki haza. Where did you get this from? Look what she says. Kalat. She doesn't say, please watch this sentence carefully. She doesn't say, Hada min indillah. What does she say? What does she say? Huwa min indillah. Hada means this. Huwa means it. Now, if I were to tell you, if you ask me, where is this from? I told you this is from a particular place. But if I told you it is from somewhere, it means it's talking about the roof on my head, it's talking about my community, it's talking about all of you, it's talking about the food I have, it is talking about absolutely everything I have. So she says, everything I have, it's very important to understand that she says, Huwa min indillah, inna Allaha yarzuqu man yasha, and Allah gives whoever He wants, bi ghayri hisab. So absolutely everything He will give without hisab. Now Zakaria being a prophet, Zakaria being an imam of his mosque, still sat down, and this is the humility of a prophet, that he was reminded by her that even if he couldn't have a child at 90, she didn't have a child in front of her. So it wasn't like he had a child. He was praying for what she had. He didn't want the fruits. But he realized, she reminded him that everything Allah does is without hisab. So he, there and then, hunalika da'a Zakaria. There and then he did dua. Are you good? Please remember the hada and the huwa. The this and the it. Are you good? Okay. I think we've got that there. Warithana. Thank you.